What's going on, knuckleheads? Welcome to Fighters Rep live. This is going to be our Sunday night discussion about the fights. Since we're not going to be going live too much anymore, I figured we'd set a day aside to go live. Typically, it's going to be immediately after the fight, so I'm thinking Fridays or Saturdays, but today or this week rather, we'll do it Sunday. But I'm thinking it's going to be Saturday nights from here on out after the fights. We're also not going to be going live with Manny on Mondays. What we're going to be doing is recording the show on Mondays to avoid any technical difficulties. And then we'll go live after the big fights. But me and Manny won't be going live. We'll be recording the show, and then I'll be uploading it on Tuesdays at noon for you guys. So you guys can see, what me and Manny thought about what happened during the fights over the weekend. So, I wanted to talk a little bit about Jose Ramirez, Victor Postol. We also had Lara fighting a guy by the last name Vendetti. Don't know too much about him. I believe it was Greg or Gary Vendetti. I can't even remember at this point. And, obviously we had UFC fight night. Smith versus Rakic. Rakic looking like a young stud in the 205-pound division for MMA. Just wanted to touch on those things. I'm so glad that the fight game is back. It was really boring there for a while without any kind of sports happening. And luckily, they kind of trickled back into our lives. But, let's start off with the boxing. I guess Lara is still kind of toiling away at the top of his division. I mean, he's not really a guy that I think is going to be the best in the division anymore. Obviously, he was a good fighter. He had some good fights. He gave Canelo a run for his money in a fight that a lot of people thought Lara won. I actually thought Canelo won that fight. I thought it was pretty even as far as shots landed. I just felt like Canelo was the aggressor, so I would have given it to Canelo. But nonetheless, he fought this Vendetti guy. I guess Lara at this point is still a champ. He's still a champ in his division. Let's see here. Greg Vendetti is the guy that he beat, and he's still the WBA light middleweight regular champ. And he's held that title since 2019. Has the Cuban-American Lara. But, he's 37 years old. I don't see him beating the best guys in his division, even if I'm being honest with you guys. Let's take a look at some of the other guys in the division that he would have to get by. I mean, I guess he'd be able to, do some work against Patrick Teixeira, Brazilian fighter. But Jason Rosario and Jermell Charlo are the other champs in the division. And, much younger. Rosario just 25 years old. Jermell Charlo just 30 years old. Guys that are still surging and entering their prime. I don't see Lara as being any sort of threat to these guys in any way, shape, or form. But yeah, I mean, he got the win. He got the win over Vendetti. It was expected. Another, typical boxing A-side versus B-side fight. You can't really expect too much from boxing anymore. Unfortunately, with all these A-side versus B-side fights. And, we had another sort of A-side versus B-side fights. I spoke about Jose Ramirez versus Victor Postol in another video. You could definitely check that out. Kind of going in depth about it a little bit more. Ramirez is a fantastic fighter. I think he's one of the best fighters in the world. I think he will be one half of one of the top 3 most exciting fights in boxing. You say, George, what the hell are you talking about? Well, if Jose Ramirez takes on Josh Taylor to unify the division, the light welterweight division, I mean, that's one of the biggest fights in boxing, easy. And I did say in my video about Jose Ramirez that I felt like a fight with him and Josh Taylor is very close. But, you know, and I said that I felt like Ramirez has a slight skill and toughness advantage. But, you know, after reflecting on it for a while, you know, I don't think so. After reflecting on it for a while now since making the video, I think that's a 50-50 fight. I think it's a 50-50 fight. It's just going to come down to, I think, who is better on that night. I think the guys are capable of beating each other. I think the same, you know, borderline about Regis Prograis. I think Regis Prograis can still even get up there and beat either of these guys. And it would be a really interesting situation if we had, you know, Taylor, once he gets over his mandatory on September 26th, which I think he will, if we had him go up against Jose Ramirez and then the winner fought Regis Prograis. Although I think if Josh Taylor wins that fight, he's probably not going to see the point in fighting Prograis again. Maybe he'll want to go to 147, but who knows? Who knows what Josh Taylor's thinking about? I think a rematch with him and Prograis would be good money. I mean, that's something that I would watch. All day long. That's pretty much it. I do want to make a video as far as boxing goes. I do want to make a video about Joe Smith. I'll probably drop that tomorrow. Joe Smith, man. Joe Smith is a tough cookie at light heavyweight. I do want to make a video about him and drop it tomorrow. What he did against Lara Alvarez, man, just continues to demonstrate that he's one of the toughest guys in boxing. And I'll elaborate on that in the video that I make about him. That being said, you know, real quick, let's switch over. You know, let's switch over to the UFC. We had Alexander Rakic taking on Anthony Smith at the basically it was like a UFC on ESPN, UFC Fight Night rather, show on Saturday. We had Neil Magny take on Robbie Lawler. Ricardo Lamas fought. Alexa Grasso fought. You know, my takeaway from this this UFC card was that this kid, Alexander Rakic, he's got some talent. You know, he's got some talent. He's pretty big, 6'4". If that's accurate, then, you know, that's an imposing figure. He had great leg kicks. His striking was on point. He dominated Anthony Smith. You know, not that Anthony Smith is a world beater by any means. Let's not forget, you know, Glover Teixeira wiped him out not too long ago, but he's still a tough guy with a lot of heart. And Rakic just dominated him from start to finish, earned the unanimous decision, 30-26, 30-27, 30-27 on the judges' scorecards. You know, Rakic from Serbia, I guess fighting out of Austria, just a beast, man. Another one of these Eastern European guys, very strong, very athletic, great leg kicks, man. Great leg kicks. He employed a lot of leg kicks, and I always wondered to myself why guys don't use them more in, you know, MMA and combat sports in general. I feel like it's such a great tool, but he really took advantage of it. And just too much for Anthony Smith. The exciting part about it is as John Jones moves up to heavyweight, you know, for better or for worse, you know, we've got all these amazing prospects to take over at light heavyweight, right? Now that Jones is gone, you know, we've got this kid, Alexander Rakic. We've got Reyes. We've got the Brazilian cats, Maheta. You know, we've got a lot of guys. We've got a lot of guys starting to fill up the light heavyweight division, which at one point was the glamour division of the UFC. You know, and it's going to be exciting to see what happens not only with John Jones at heavyweight, But with, whatever goes down or however this division clears itself up going forward. The other sad thing on the card, the thing that kind of made me sad was Neil Magny's total dominance over Robbie Lawler. Robbie Lawler has been in the game for decades, man. Robbie Lawler has been a bad dude. He's been in the game for freaking decades, man. And, Neil Magny, is a solid fighter. But again, not a world beater, not a guy you expect to win a title unless something really strange happens, right? Somebody gets hurt or something like that. As much as I respect Neil Magny, I think he's a good fighter. I don't think he's a guy that's going to win a title. And to see him, a guy that's sort of a gatekeeper for the top 5 or top 10 beat Robbie Lawler, that was kind of tough. It was kind of tough to watch, especially considering, how great Robbie Lawler once was. He's definitely, it's starting to definitely look like he's hit the back end of his career. And I'm careful in saying that because a lot of people thought that and he reinvented himself and came back and became a champion. But it's just, he's not there anymore. He's not there anymore. If he's letting a guy like Neil Magny beat him, he put up a decent fight. He had some, he had some moments, but definitely not enough to beat Neil Magny. And it was sad watching a legend like that, go out there and get beat by a guy who, at one point he would have wiped out, if you ask me. Knuckleheads, if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button, the bell notification icon next to it. Join Knucklehead Nation. I'll be dropping videos almost every day at 7 p.m. about something, so definitely tune in and subscribe. We do have dates for next year. We do have dates for our fights for next year, assuming the pandemic clears up, which I'm hoping it does by next year. And I'm going to go ahead and give you those dates. You guys can follow us on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter at FightersRep and see all this information. But the dates that we got going on are as follows. February 5th will be FightersRep 10. April 16th, 11. June 25th will be FightersRep 12. September 3rd, FightersRep 13. And then November 5th will be FightersRep 14. God willing, man, assuming everything opens back up, we can put fights together again. So, that's what's happening there. I'm also considering, putting together some boxing matches. I'll see how that goes. We're also looking at venues up north and further south in California. If I find those, maybe it's going to be just more kickboxing. But in those venues instead, if that happens, we may be spread too thin to do some boxing events. But nonetheless, you guys will know. As long as you remain in touch with us, you will know what we're going to be doing moving forward. We'll also continue to do our interviews every Friday at 7, whether remotely or in person. We've got a fantastic, photographer / videographer by the name of Chelsea who'll be conducting some of the interviews. I'll be conducting some myself. So we'll have interviews in the fight game for you every Friday at 7. And then we'll still be dropping our Keep It Clean with Manny Robles, but I'm thinking we're going to start recording them and dropping them Tuesdays at noon. That way, guys, you can, watch it at your lunchtime or whatever. And also recording it'll help us so we don't have as many technical difficulties as we usually do, because sometimes you make these Skype calls and, the technical difficulties get crazy and it looks sloppy. So I want to kind of tighten up the show with Manny Robles. So definitely tune in for that. And let's see what's going on in the chat. I appreciate you guys joining me, man. By the way, smash the like button if you haven't. If you donate to the channel in the super chat or you buy Fighters Rep gear, we have masks, we have shirts, whatever you buy in the links below, or the Keep It Clean gear for the show with me and Manny, it all gets reinvested right back into the promotion, right back into the channel. So let me see what's going on in the chat, man. I appreciate you guys being here. Fight Life Nation is in here. RGN's in the Granite is in here. Kirky Von Kernsevich is in here. What's up, brother? Appreciate you guys being in here. So Fight Life Nation says, Lara's problem was that he was always too good for boxers to want to fight and too boring to gain a following. I think you're I think you're right about that, Barco. He was in that kind of in-between space where it was hard to find success. High risk, low reward guy. RGN's in the granite says, what's poppin', knuckleheads? Fighters Rep George, what's poppin', brother? Salute, respect to a good friend. Likewise. Fight Life Nation says, I thought the UFC prelims were fire. Very fun fight, but the main card was lacking. Highly skilled fighters, but lacked the finishes. RGN's in the granite says, Lara went the distance. Main event, that kid beat Smith up at his own ground game. Rakic, says Kirky Ivan Kerncevic. RGN's in the granite says, leg kicks are insane. They really are, man. They really are. You know, I'm really surprised. I'm really surprised that guys aren't more adept at leg kicks. You know, I think Cheeto Vera showed something against Sean O'Malley with the leg kick. I think Rakic showed us against Anthony Smith how valuable it is. Obviously, Jose Aldo, I feel like is the first guy that really opened people's eyes to how dangerous these things could be. I think there needs to be more. Fight Life Nation says, Lawler's such a badass, steps up to fight a tough fighter like Neil Magny on short notice. True that. RG into the granite says, Fight Life Nation, yup, Lawler's still a beast. I hope Lawler considers retirement, says Fight Life Nation. He's a step slower and his style can lead to needless punishment. I agree with that. RGN's in the granite says, short notice. Lawler wasn't sharp, no speed like he used to have. Even fighters that lose are warriors. No matter what, Lawler didn't get hurt. It's true. That's true, you know, and I think that's an important thing that we got to read into this culture is what the OG RGN's into the granite is saying. Is that win or lose, man, we got to respect these guys. That's it. I mean, win or lose, we got to respect these guys. Win or lose. RGN's in the granite says, even fighters that lose are warriors. Yeah, I read that already. Fight Life Nation says, I wouldn't mind seeing Magny get a top 5 fight. It's been a while since Magny looked bad in a fight. He was supposed to fight Jeff Neal, but Neal had a crazy illness that almost killed him. RGN's in the granite says, congrats on your fights, George. Thank you, man. Excuse me. Thank you, man. Thank you. I mean, I'm so upset that I haven't been able to put fights on this year other than, you know, Fighters Rep 9, which was an absolutely crazy successful event back on the 28th of February. I'm excited to bring kickboxing back to the public. I'm excited to bring it back to the United States, to Southern California. And I can't wait, man. I can't wait. I can't wait for this virus to clear up, for things to calm down a bit, you know, and to see what happens. I'm ready to move forward. Fight Life Nation says, Grasso looked good in her new weight division. Sharp striking, changing levels. Valentina has that division on lock, so it's great to see contenders build themselves. Dude, Valentina's a beast, man. Nobody's going to touch Valentina. RG in the granite says, respect. Right back to you, brother. Fight Life Nation says, the 205 division is looking pretty shallow right now. The top 10 doesn't have many young killers. After Reyes, there's not much. And then, you know, that's pretty much all we have. My boy RGN's telling me he's happy for me. I appreciate it. Knuckleheads, man, that's pretty much it, man. That's pretty much all I got going on. It's been a long week. Man. It's been a long weekend. Shit, I need a weekend for my weekend, man. A lot of family obligations that went down. I'm fucking tired. I'm ready to take a nap. Another guy, though, before I let you guys go, another guy I kind of wanted to touch on was Postol, man. Postol was a good fighter, man. Victor Postol, the one that fought Jose Ramirez at one point, you know, I was thinking to myself, this guy's a problem. And then he kind of, I think he may have peaked at that Lucas Matisse fight, and then he kind of went south after that. You know, it's sad to see these guys go down, but I'm glad they had their time in the light. And a guy like Postol, you know, he deserves a lot of credit. But anyway, knuckleheads, I'm out of it, man. I'm going to see you guys soon. Be sure to tune in every day around 7. See if we drop something. Hit the bell notification icon. You'll know. And we'll talk soon. We'll be going live again after the big fights. And almost every day at 7. Every other day at 7, we'll have something going on for you. Anyway, knuckleheads, we'll talk soon. See you guys later.